are Jews, 0.2% of the world population, that's us. So the reason I start off that way is by saying, no, the world situation is not all about us. We are a good, solid, but small proportion of the population. Demographic studies indicate that there are a minimum of 200,000 Ukrainian Jews eligible for Aliyah under the law of return. 200,000. The total number of people who may claim Jewish ancestry in Ukraine, probably up to 400,000 people.
Wow.
You can see the reason why I'm mentioning this. Yes, it's a horrible problem, and it is also our problem. Okay, now, Kiev, or Kiev, as it's now pronounced, has 110,000 Jews. Dnipro, 60,000, Kharkiv, 45,000, Odessa, 45,000. Then this, because I have my own understanding of the history of the Ukraine and its Jewish population, violent pogroms occurred in Odessa in 1821, 1859, 1871, 1881, and 1905, in case anyone's interested. It has not always been a friendly place, but Odessa and the Ukraine are one of the creative centers of the Jewish civilization. Both statements are true. Klezmer music was developed, invented in the Ukraine. Isaac Babel, born in Odessa. Shalom Aleichem, Yasha Heifetz, Chaim Nachman Bialik, and Shaul Chernichovsky are claimed by Odessa. Achana Am lived in Odessa. Zev Jabotinsky lived in Odessa. When you start doing this, you realize that you are talking about one of the growth plates, creative centers of the Jewish world. It's not just over there. It is very much a part of who we are. Many of the people who were the creative initiators of modern Zionism, 1880 and beyond, are from Odessa or that area of the Ukraine. Okay? Fascinating. And modern Hebrew literature was born in Odessa and in the Ukraine area.
Wow.
Okay? So my first comment was, it's not all about us. This is not about the Jews. On the other hand, the Jewish connection to the Ukraine is more than huge. The Ukraine has one of the largest Jewish national populations in the world. Okay? Then I made another comment at my posting Thursday night, which really bothered me. A lot of this bothers me. I was born on October 6, 1939. Put it into history, the last couple of days of the Blitzkrieg that overthrew Poland. My life has been marked over and over and over again by wars. I don't want to list them all. But think about that. You're looking at not only an antique, but a living testimony to what's been going on in our world, 1939 to 2022. There were times when I was young when I absolutely hoped and dreamed that I could leave the world better than I had found it. Well, I found it in October of 1939, so that wasn't a tough shot to leave the world better off. But I will tell you that I'm not feeling very good about the heritage that I'm leaving behind. We are living in terrible times. And what was initiated over these past couple of months is not going to be resolved now. Do not expect that. The war may stop. The Ukraine may be occupied. But the internal resistance of the Ukrainian people to the Russians will continue. And the firm line, Cold War lines between East and West are being built like a new Berlin Wall. So I am not feeling, whoa, I was born and I had a tough life and I left the world a better place. I am not going to be able to claim that. I never thought, by the way, Nachman of Bratslav, one of the great Hasidic teachers, is from Uman. You'll see it on the maps a lot, U-M-A-N. It is a site of, I'm not going to comment on the nature of this, pilgrimage every year by his Hasidim, the Bratislava Hasidim. No, I'm going to keep good today because they're a miserable lot. So I'm not going to comment on them. But the headquarters of the World Center that they come every year on pilgrimage, Uman, Odessa, you'll see that as well. And so I actively remember wars from 1950. I was 11 years old by then, so I remember the Korean War, police action, whatever it was, from now to then. I remember when Roosevelt died. I do remember that. It was such a trauma in the family that shouldn't have been a trauma, but we thought it was a trauma. I remember that, and from then on. So, my friends, I join you in praying for peace, not the peace that will forever be identified with Munich. I pray for peace, not Munich. A just and enduring peace. And I never thought in the world I would be saying this. I join you in praying for the people of Ukraine. I join you in praying that maybe this time, the enemies of democracy can be pushed back, but I am not at all sanguine that prayer is going to be answered. And though I know that it's not always about us, that's my theme today, I join you in praying for the safety of the Jews of Ukraine, including its president, Volodymyr Zelensky, who is a proud Jew. It's rather fascinating that Zelensky has sent a message to Putin saying that they should hold a peace conference in Israel. That was an official thing. I'm not sure Putin is ready to pack kosher food and go to Israel.
Really?
But I'm sorry to intervene on Shabbat in this way, but I very much had to. And it certainly is appropriate if somebody wants to make a comment or two before we hit the Torah. Anyone want to offer any thoughts, Penina? Just brief couple thoughts around.
Okay. First of all, I was born in November 20, 1939.
Ah,
So you
you're
are
month
a month
younger.
older than me.
You're a child. Okay.
Yeah. And second, I'm afraid that the Ukrainians who are not Jewish are going to feel animosity toward the Jewish population and blame us the way other nations did during many wars. So that's my concern. And I hope
Okay.
Israel is going to get busy and start putting settlements and all those green, gorgeous hills that they're showing that are barren right now from people. And that we got the place, let them come. That's it.
And that has been an unpaid advertisement from the Israeli Tourism and Citizenship Department. Very good.
Right.
Okay. Any other comments, please? Anyone else?
May I please?
I'm sorry?
Marina.
Yes, Marina, please. Yes.
Well, I am from Odessa. And Nina, yes, both Ukrainians and Russians blame Jews for everything, but not this time. I kind of am offended with this comment because it's not what I hear now, either from friends or from relatives. There is no such feeling. There is no, we do not see a rise in anti-Semitism at the moment.
Thank God.
Pardon?
No,
I
no,
said,
go ahead.
thank God.
Yeah. So let's not put into the bad situation the ideas that don't exist there. What I think is going on is, well, nobody expected it to be at this scale, but I think the war will not stop with Ukraine. Putin's ambitions are wider, and the whole world is in peril at the moment.
And I think the last comment is really, really, really true. The whole world is in peril. So it's not about us, it's about the Ukraine, but it's not just about Ukraine. It's about the world order, which is about to take a dramatic shift, and we don't know in which direction. So thank you very much. And thank you for the cautionary note. What was doesn't necessarily mean what will be. And
Amen.
yes, you are correct. Yes, thank you for that. Any other, Carrie Ray?
Yes. Photojournalism and the press was responsible for creating a movement in the late 1960s that put an end to the Vietnam War. The internet today is thousands of times more powerful than what we had in 1970. Already, bars and liquor stores are dumping Russian vodka. There is a movement that has happened faster than I've ever seen in my life. 1,700 Russians have been arrested for protesting this. I think we have an opportunity here. I mean, look what happened with George Floyd, how the world changed because of a video. There was a Ukrainian soldier that sacrificed his life to detonate a bridge over which Russian tanks were going to go. This has made worldwide news. 13 Ukrainian soldiers were killed for giving the Russian Navy the big middle finger when they told them to surrender. This is a movement, and I don't think today's world is going to accept this, and the internet is our biggest friend. And in this case, I'm hopeful that the world is going to react and rebel to what we see going on.
Right on.
I'm biting my tongue about hope, but okay, but your facts are correct. I mean, absolutely, the facts are, you know, in my dark moments, which I have more and more, if the internet had existed in 1939, what would the world be like today? It would be dramatically different, including millions more Jews alive.
Well, because we have a state. That's a big difference. We have our own state now.
Yep. Mara, Harv, whoever has raised a hand over there. No? No? Okay.
I just think Aliyah is a great idea.
Okay, yeah, the Wilshire Boulevard will be opening up an Aliyah Center Sunday morning. Come on over. No, that's not true. That is fake information. Anyone else want to say something? If not, we will.
I do.
Okay.
Not directly related, but somewhat related. I'm in the middle of reading a book called Conspiracy U by Stephen Shea, and it is about anti-Zionist theories, background, and how the left and the right use those theories. And it's a really interesting read. So I just recommend it in terms of understanding how Zionism and Jews are received in the world.
Thank you. Thank you very, very much. Our prayer for peace. Okay. Are you talking to your grandchildren, by the way, or great-grandchildren or children? In my family, I think the kids are pretty literate. The level of worry is quite little. The notion that all of this will impact their existence or that is significant beyond the headline of today. Wow. Maybe it's a weakness in my family. I haven't encountered that. Eric Weiss? Oh, you're muted, Eric.
Okay,
Eric.
I went to the greatest tour 2 years ago to Israel. Man, it opened my eyes when I went to the Holocaust Museum. You know, with an excellent tour guide called Mike Hollinger and Angela Buchdahl.
Ah, okay, yes. Mr. Weisberg.
I'm gonna mute.
We talked to our grandchildren last night, and we talked about appeasement, and they didn't know what that word was, although they're very educated and not studying it in school. And I just got through. I watched the movie. There's a movie about Munich that's currently on Netflix. That's very impressive, although I don't agree necessarily with their big central thesis. But I think history is just repeating itself. And in that movie, Munich, there's a very interesting comment. I don't know if it came from the movie or the book it was based on or somewhere else, but someone says, well, at least we have hope. And then someone else, I don't remember who, but one of the central characters said, well, it would be better not to have hope so we could focus on doing what needs to be done.
Thank you. I mean, thank you. Look, we have a wonderful, wonderful group here today. We always have a wonderful group, but you're the people I can share my feelings with. And you know, looking back over the years of my life, I surely didn't want these years of my life to be marked by again. And fine, we will move forward with hope. I hope that Jim Ruxin is here. Is Jim here?
Yes.
Jim, I hope that you have a movie for tonight. Oh, Jim went away.
I think he's gone.
Oh, dear.
Yes.
Jim. Okay, you're muted, Jim.
Okay, thank you. Sorry, I had to leave for a moment. So tonight's film is Changing Lanes with a very young Samuel Jackson and a very young Ben Affleck 20 years ago, playing two people at opposite ends of the economic spectrum. Affleck is a white venture capitalist who has a job with his wife's father's firm. And Jackson plays a divorced Black recovering alcoholic who is a bit down on his luck. And they have a little fender bender on the Long Island Expressway. And it becomes a duel back and forth to see who can do the other guy the most damage. And what both of them realize is that it's the law firm that set both of them up to fail with corruption. And when they realize that, suddenly the enemies become friends against the common threat and try and do the right thing. And it's a great morality story, and lots of learning, so much about the gray area in between and what to do when you think you're at opposite ends of a disagreement with someone else. So 7:30 tonight, the film you can still see on Amazon Prime. I think it's also on HBO Max, but I found it on Amazon Prime, Changing Lanes. And it's directed by the late Roger Michell, who's a wonderful director, very moral, kind, humanistic director in his time. So hope to see it tonight at 7:30.
Fantastic. Thank you. Risa loved it. And I remember it from when it came out.
Yeah.
I remember that. On March 2nd, we have our next current events program. God knows what we'll find to talk about on March 2nd. I have no idea. Friday, March 11th, it's good news and bad news. For those of you who enjoy lunch with the rabbi, Wilshire Boulevard's program, 11 o'clock, noon on Fridays. Yeah, I'm the teacher Friday, March 11th. So I'm going to be doing that thing. And Cindy, is there anything? Yeah.
Yeah, we're back in business finally. You know, COVID's eased up. So on March 21st, for the former University Sisterhood members, we're having a tour of the Glazer campus. It'll be the new pavilion, the sanctuary, and the Karsh Center with, of course, lunch afterwards. There'll be a flyer going out this week, so you can register because we're limited to the number because of the restaurant. We're joining with WOW to do the Women's Seder April 11th, which is before Passover, and that's how they do it. We're going to have a high tea and learning program. April 30th, we're going to have our Mahjong tournament. May 18th, we're going to have a speaker from WRJ about their work with the UN as a happy hour in May, and we'll be doing a happy hour museum tour, TBA. So COVID's eased up and we're back in business.
I'm exhausted. Okay.
And I just want to say that if you haven't seen the Karsh Center, it's an extraordinary endeavor and operation by Wilshire. It's probably the finest thing that they do, and it is something you can't really quite get a grasp on without going and touring the facility, which is huge and does a huge amount of good. So I really just urge people to do that. The tour of the new building is beautiful and et cetera, but the Karsh Center is something that also reaches your insides in a big way.
And I've heard the sanctuary is amazing.
It's beautiful.
Yes,
It's
and
beautiful.
praying on Shabbos is a mitzvah. Oh, sorry, that was a small commercial. Yeah, we were at services again last night, and yeah, it's good. It's
May
good.
I ask Cindy what time is the Seder?
The Seder, it's on a Monday, probably around 6. It's
Thank you.
April 11th.
Now, there is actually really good news here, along with all the doom and gloom with which I greeted you this Shabbos morning. The good news is that this is Shabbat Mavorchim HaChodesh. This is the Sabbath on which we bless the incoming new month of Adar 2. In Jewish leap years, all of us know that a Jewish leap year occurs 7 times every 19 years. I mean, that's something which flows trippingly off of our tongues. 7 times every 19 years is a leap year. This is one of those times. And that means that we have a long time between spring holidays. From Tu B'Shvat to Purim is huge. Well, this new month beginning will include Purim. And then 1 month later, Passover. I feel like Cindy. 1 month later, Passover. Then 7 weeks later, Shavuot. And the whole cycle of spring holidays will occur. And this is the blessing which one makes at this time. Yehi ratzon nofanach Adonai Eloheinu v'Elohei avotenu v'imotenu shedchadesh aleinu et hachodesh haba adar sheni l'tova v'livracha. Our God and God of our ancestors, may the new month bring us goodness and blessing. May we have long life, peace, and prosperity, a life exalted by love of Torah and reverence for the divine, a life in which the longings of our hearts are filled with good. And now we notice that Rosh Chodesh Adar Sheni B'Yom Shishi Haba Eleinu, the new month of second Adar, but that's the leap month. You add an Adar to make the leap year, will occur on Friday. We are moving now full time into the spring. And that's, I don't know, that's kind of welcome. May it be a springtime of hope. And next Saturday, I am asking you to prepare your own Siyum festival. So make sure you have around your tables a little drink. It could be slivovitz, it could be wine, it could be Diet Coke, and a little bit of challah, a little bit of celebration. We will close the reading, the study of the book of Exodus, and then begin the book of Leviticus. Okay, so the Siyum is this coming Saturday morning. So all that is calendar. Let me take a deep breath. I'm already exhausted. Checking in. Besides the fact I'm going back to it, Panina's daughter sang a duet with Cantor last night, and it was, I'm not being paid for this. It was beautiful.
Thank you.
Beautiful. And what was even more beautiful, we were sitting behind you, so I had a hard time watching her because I was watching your face.
I was tearing.
Yeah, it looked as if you were kind of feeling good. She has a beautiful voice. She told me she might be interested in musical theater. I don't know, but whatever. It's yeah, that's lovely. Any other checking in? Anything happening?
Is anybody interested to know how this Jewish calendar developed?
Well, not now.
Okay.
Not now. Yeah.
Okay.
Not now. I know all about calendars because we used to get one we would buy our calendars in February because they were already cheaper than if you bought them in December. So we bought them in February. Never did find out what happens in January, but I know all about February and stuff.
Okay.
Anyone else want to share anything with us? If not, we'll go right into the text. It is so good to be with you. Okay, so now we are in Exodus chapter 35. Chapter 35, beginning with verse 1. I'm going to try to do this so I can actually read. In the Plout, page 612, in the Women of Reformed Judaism commentary, it's the new Plout, I have to say, the WRJ 523, 612 in new Plout, and 523 WRJ. Okay, then Moses convoked, I never do know what that word means, the whole Israelite community and said to them, "These are the things that the Eternal has commanded you to do." The first word, Vayakhel, translated as convoked. I guess convocation, I don't know. But the word we know from it is Kehillah. Do you know what the word Kehillah means, Donna? Sorry,
No,
I don't,
sir.
no, I made her unmute, so.
No,
Yeah, congregation, community. So Vayakhel, Moses gathered all of the people, When was this? Where are they? Where are they? Someone want to remember, where are the people right now when Moses convoked the people?
In the
Where are
desert.
Pardon?
They're in the desert.
Yeah, but they're not pretty far in the desert. Where are they?
You're right.
They're really pretty much at Mount Sinai. They're still hanging there. It's the stories in the book of Exodus are chronologically mingled, and a little bit of forward, a little after, and they kind of are not exactly straight. In the meanwhile, Rashi apparently counted all the days that he could and came up with the conclusion that this is the day after Yom Kippur. So in case you're interested, it's the day after Yom Kippur. You know, when Moses went up on the mountain on Sinai to get the second set of the tablets, this is when he came down. This is when the new covenant is made. And this is when Vayakhel Moshe, Moses made all the people come together. Do you know how important this day is? It is so important that the women were there together with the men.
Wow.
Yeah, wow. The rabbis make a big deal. Whoa. We had the women there and the men. Then as long as you have the women, the kids too, in order of priority. But Moses gathered all the people. Vayakhel Moshe et kol adat b'nei Israel. Moses gathered everybody. Isn't there a congregation in town, Adat Shalom or something like that? Yeah. So here's the same word. Call Adat b'nei Israel, the whole gathering of the people of Israel. And Moses said to them, Eile hadvarim asher tziva Adonai la'asot Really interesting. These are the matters which God commanded so that you do them. The rabbis hit on this big time. I'm really happy that you all know all 613 mitzvot as listed in the Torah, and you can recite them alphabetically, fine. But the point of it is, la'asot otam, do them. Simply being aware of what this is Passover, pass the rye bread. No, this is the mitzvot exist so that they should be done. Judaism as a performative religion, we do things. We don't study tzedakah and just study it. We do it. We don't study the holidays. Oh, we know when all the holidays come. We live them. We do it. Moses is standing before the people and says, folks, I am giving you the Torah with its commandments, not for idle curiosity and so you can pass an exam. Do them. Steve.
But it seems to me there's a group of us, Haredi, or we've all heard about some great grandparents who didn't do things. Their wives worked and all they did was read and study. And how did that tradition develop in light of everything that is in the books they're studying?
It's hard because I think, Steve, I might disagree with the presupposition of your question. Many of the people who sat and studied fulfilled the ritual demands, commands, and they didn't ignore the doing aspect of Torah. They studied and they observed and they studied. They did.
Well, they didn't do things like tikkun olam or.
Okay. So if you want to narrow the focus of your complaint and say that, yeah, the social justice elements weren't overwhelming the big deal. What was the big deal is the ritual structure to life. Yeah.
But
Yes.
also they didn't work during the week. So, you're supposed to work and then rest.
And they would say again, Steve, it's a slight misstatement. There is no more work more sacred than studying Torah. And really, this is their language, not mine, but I'm talking to you in the upper left corner of my computer, and that's something strange, but there you are. They have no problem. Just the same way that Chabad says, we shouldn't have to be conscripted into the Israeli army because we already serve in Tzahal. Tzahal, Tzva Haganah Israel, the Israeli army, IDF. Of course, when they say Tzahal, they say Tzva Haganah Lashem, God's army. So they're soldiers in God's army, so they shouldn't have to be drafted. It's a different way of looking at it, but to understand them, Steve, it's fair to understand they know about your criticism and they have an answer. This is sacred work, and they are working. They are working. And our privilege, Steve, is to support them. You didn't smile. Okay. All right. You're not going to smile. Okay. Now, one of the, it just happened that Steve mentioned Tikkun Olam. Did you mention Tikkun Olam?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, that's in my text right here. What Moses comes down from Sinai with the second set of tablets, right? We know that. What happens to the broken pieces of the first set? What happened? Moses rubbished them?
They go in the ark with
They
the
went in the ark.
unbroken set.
They went eventually into the tabernacle, which was being built, right? What was in the tabernacle along with the broken pieces? The new one.
Yeah.
Right? The repairing of those broken pieces is called what in Hebrew? Tikkun. Tikkun. That's where it all comes from right here. Tikkun. We carry with us the broken pieces of the original set of the 10 Commandments. We have the full set. We have the broken set. And we're supposed to look, Rabbi delivering a sermon, danger, danger. We're supposed to devote our lives to repairing the broken things in the world. The broken things in the world. It's a very not incidental, may I say, powerful, mainstream, important teaching to repair the world. I hope you don't have your phones on. I'm gonna tell you something I don't want you to spread. The term Tikkun Olam is not a complete term. The complete term is L'taken Olam b'malchut Shaddai. To repair the world under the dominion of God. And sometimes people forget, and I'm into social action, that's what I am. Wonderful, but do you understand that it is a religious imperative? We are doing this Oh, yeah, it's great. Look, if you do it for the wrong reasons and you repair the world, fine. I'm not going to complain. But the core reason is to make this world a fit place for God. And we are supposed to be repairing those broken shards, pieces, fragments. That's what we do in life. What do you Jews do? On the one hand, I could tell Cindy, we eat pickled herring. We could say that. I mean, I love that. But beyond the pickled herring, our purpose is to make that world fit for God to dwell in. Fix the broken pieces. End of sermon. Eric?
Oh, I heard Rabbi Bachman say the word for worker is malakut. And I just
Malchut
didn't
is
understand
kingdom.
because I'm deaf.
Yeah, Malchut is kingdom. Melech, Malchut, kingdom. Yes.
So he was like the melech with the worker to repair the world. The
Oh,
malkut.
okay, there's a little bit of a sneak there, and I'm not going to do heavy teaching, but there are two words in Hebrew which are very frequently confused. One is melech, and one is malacha.
That's what I mean.
Yeah, melech is king, malchut is kingdom, malacha is labor.
Oh, that's what he talked about, Rabbi Bachman.
So right again, gold star, there we go. Now, I think that a lot of what we do swirls around tikkun. We live in a very broken world. We live in an amazingly broken world. And because it is so broken, it may not survive. But maybe it will. Remember, if we can be not so centered on the importance of human beings, there is no guarantee that we are integral to the survival of the cosmos.
No.
We are here.
What do I do?
And we can.
Janice would like some decaf.
We
Okay.
can.
Some celery juice.
Okay, somebody. Okay. We have a chance to repair the world, to glue some pieces back together. And if there's anything that easily describes what are you Jews interested in doing in the world, it's tikkun. L'taken olam b'malchut Shaddai, to make this world a fit place for the presence of God. That's what we're doing. It's not just being do-gooders. Someone once said to me, and I accepted it as well-meaning, well, you know, Jews are basically like liberal Democrats or whatever. You don't want to make all, you got the wrong image, folks. It's to make the world a fit place for the presence of God. And that's what we're involved in. And that's what we are trying to make happen. So, every once in a while, I'm sure it's never happened to you, my spouse will make a list of the things that need to be done. I have to tell you, because I'm polite, I read that list. And then I put it away, but I've read it. And eventually I will do many of the things on it. Yavo hazman, when you got the time, I do it. That's not how Torah reads. Assotem means we're really supposed to try to do it. We're trying to do what the Torah wants us to do. You know that I don't believe that every statement in the Torah represents the highest ethical norms in the universe. You know that I have certain problems with certain concepts embedded in an ancient Torah, not the least of which is how gays, homosexuals are to be treated, not the least of which is description of the roles of women, etc. I have things. But overwhelmingly, the Torah exists so that we do. So that we do as much as we can. Penina.
There is a saying also that says, Lo alecha melacha ligmor. Don't be discouraged, because it's not up to you always to finish everything, to make sure everything comes to the end that you want it to, but it shouldn't defer you from trying.
Okay.
To do the work.
And I really object to the fact, I object to the fact that I'm trying to pound on these people to do Torah, and you're offering a very real statement. Look, and if you can't do it all, that's good too. Yes. Yeah, but listen to me. Don't listen to Penina. We want you to do more. I want to tell you that the commentator Abarbanel is very upset by the term Assotem. And he was never able to fully understand why Torah says it. Because everything is supposed to be done. This almost offers a little bit of wiggle. Is there something in Torah that you don't have to do? And it's just interesting. Abarbanel, he was never happy. And he didn't understand why this verse was this way. And I can't help him with it. He's no longer here. Let's go on to verse 2. On 6 days, work may be done, but on the seventh day you shall have a Sabbath of complete rest, holy to the eternal. Whoever does any work on it shall be put to death. Thou shalt kindle no fire throughout your settlements on the Sabbath day. Anything in here that bothers you?
Putting people to death.
Oh, yeah. Putting people to death for working on Shabbos. Oh, you worked on Shabbos. We are going to kill you. Yes, Merle.
We have a very dear friend, practically a relative, who's an Orthodox rabbi. And when he came to the congregation that he's at in Chicago, he inherited a very early morning Saturday service for people who have to work on Shabbat. And we once asked him why, not knowing why. You're in an Orthodox community, there's a shul every 10 steps. And he said, because those people don't have a choice. They don't have family to run their businesses. They don't have somebody to do it. So the thought every time I read this, where it says, if you work on Shabbat, you'll be put to death, I think of him and his congregation, where some of these people don't have a choice, and they have to support their families in whatever way they can. They also support the congregation. So this sentence disturbs me.
Well, that's kind of like why, Merle, I chose to point it out. Ray has such a thoughtful, caring comment. At a minimum, we must wait till after Havdalah to put them to death.
Okay, that's.
I think that's.
I also wanted to, and don't get mad, what Penina said, bless you, Penina, what Penina said about, keeping, that if we don't finish the work, that my interpretation was, if we don't finish the work, sometimes we can't finish the work, but we hope that our children and grandchildren and whoever will continue doing what we started and finish it that way.
Of course, and Penina is quoting Pirkei Avot.
Oh, I know.
Yeah, I got that. But she's totally correct. But I was trying to be impositional and make everyone feel guilty. And she was opening the door to, come on, Judaism isn't like that. But all right.
I got it.
Okay. Yeah. It's both corners. We're supposed to live it. But in the meanwhile, it's certainly recognized that we can't do it all. We can't do it perfectly. We can't do it to completion. Just because you can't finish it doesn't mean you shouldn't start. Okay, Ray, and then Effie and Natalie. Ray, Effie, Natalie.
Thank you, Rabbi. A couple thoughts. First of all, I'm just recalling, and I'll call to the attention of people who weren't at that session at the same time, your qualifications a week or two ago about this concept of putting someone who violates Shabbat to death. And you made very clear, importantly and interestingly, that in practice, the many obstacles to doing this practically and ritually render this injunction moot, and that's with good cause. So I think that's a very important point for us to hold on to, an essential point. But I will further observe that for me, as I experience Torah, a lot of the way the rhetoric of this text works for me often, and this is one of those times, is I experience the rhetoric as accommodating an ongoing dialogue that encompass the voices that we encounter in our own lives and our own relationships. And it is easy to extrapolate back from our own time to the time of the concatenation of Torah and every generation in between, that the people in our lives who thump the table and voice very extremist arguments like this, whether at our dinner tables, family members that try our patience, or in committee meetings. And I'll just say I'm spending a lot of time in committee meetings right now, and anyone who does that work ever knows that they are always one step away from Lord of the Flies, that the text is creating a panoply of the voices that are in our heads and in our ears in every generation, and anticipating those voices and anticipating the challenges that they bring. And so by sticking them right here in the text, safely with a little firewall around God, because it's Moses quoting God, so we don't have to attribute this one to God directly, but the voice is there for us to say, well, what do we think that means? And then debate. And sometimes calling our consciousness into the dialogue is an essential task that might have better traction with us than simply laying down a law and making a declaration that, well, yes, this is a mitzvah, but no, it's not a death mitzvah, because we're going to hear those death voices whether we like it or not.
Why was I thinking as you were speaking, Ray, that there was a symphony of truth in what you were saying? It was beautifully expressed. Thank you for that. Thank you. I'd see. Natalie?
No, Effie.
Effie, then Natalie. Yes.
For many years, when I used to go to work on Saturdays, and I wasn't paid, so I said, well, I'm not getting paid, so I can go to work. But then one day I was on the freeway driving on a Saturday and said, this was about 30 years ago. I said, no, I shouldn't do this. And I got off the freeway, went home, and I never worked on Saturday again.
Wow.
There came a moment. Thank you. Thank you, Effie. Natalie?
Oh, wait a minute. Oh, okay. I think I'll take off from what Effie said. I don't know why we were all so upset about put to death in this sentence, because think about when these laws were put down or tried to expect the congregation to listen. Why would we listen unless we were afraid of something? There's fear in the basis of all behavior. You go to school, you're afraid the teacher will give you a bad mark if you do not do your homework. You listen to your parents, you're afraid they're going to take their love away from you. There's fear in behavior. People just don't behave because they are good to begin with. So in those days when these rules were put down,
how in the world would you expect anyone to listen to what you're saying unless there was penalty behind it? And that is what this sentence means to me. And I don't find it offensive, because that is the basis for, as I said before, all good behavior. Very often in the beginnings, anyhow, when you're children, when you're growing up, is really because you're afraid of some loss that is going to happen to you.
I will tell you, the comments that are being made today are extraordinary. They're extraordinary. And I thank you for that. I just have to rush only because of time. And thank you, Natalie. I mean, just thank you. In 989 in the Plout, 989 in the Plout, it happens to be Numbers 1532. Forgive me for moving quickly because we're at the end and I still want to throw this in. 989 in the Plout. Let's see. Verse 32, page 989. Once, when the Israelites were in the wilderness, one of their fellows was found gathering wood on the Sabbath day. Those who found him as he was gathering wood brought him before Moses, Aaron, and the community leadership. He was placed in custody, for it had never been specified what should be done to him. This is a fascinating window into the Torah, if you read these lines. Then the Eternal said to Moses, "This fellow shall be put to death. The community leadership shall pelt him with stones outside the camp." So the community leadership took him outside the camp, stoned him to death, as the Eternal had commanded Moses. To my knowledge, this is the only circumstance in the Torah when someone is killed for the violation of Shabbat. And the statement, like Moses didn't even have any idea how to handle this. It's a very, very interesting thing. And the last thought, and we'll come back to it next year. For many Christian readers of Torah, this verse is a deal breaker. They contrast, Natalie, the fear of which you spoke with the love which they claim is the God of the world they live in. And they draw the harshest line between the God of love and the God of this passage in Exodus. So what we're looking at is a terribly critical problem. And within Jewish tradition, it's easy to answer, but it isn't answered on the surface. On the surface, you violate the Shabbat, you die. And that is nothing less than harsh. Is that what Torah is about? We understand, no, but do understand that this is a fulcrum verse for Christian evaluation of how Judaism understands God, okay? We can't walk away from it as if it isn't a real problem. It is. It can be answered, but it is a problem. There is, I put down here, this is a major deal breaker for Christians, and I'm going to stick with that statement. We're going to go. Oh, I love you. I managed to do all of what, Effie, 2-3 verses. Wow. We're going to join together now in Kaddish. I don't know about you guys. I'm feeling very troubled this week. I'm just feeling very troubled. I'm feeling very troubled. Those who have passed away during the past month: Saul Block, Milton Cohn, Betty Denitz, Bella Schimmel-Desser, Alexandra Dullen, Stephen Goldinger, Anita Marston, Taji Newman, Teresa Shapiro, Sarah Lynn Sidley, Miriam Spurtis, Ruth Tober, Iraj Eliyahu, Yedid Sion. And yard sites that have occurred during the past week: Richard Baer, Leah Bank, Salva Bahar, Jacob Bender, Joyce Bergman, Helen Bernards, Matilda Bernstein, Jerry Bernstein, Lawrence Max Block, Alma Bogia, Thomas Bowen, Anne Nitreba Brock, Thelma Chessel, Betty Chekanow, David Chorna, Sharon Croman, Rose Cohn, Richard Gary Cooper, Kevin Davis, Gerald William Elkins, Rebecca Miller Engel, Jean Engel, Horatio Eppelbaum, Truda Enstova, Hugh Fate, Constance Foley, Burton Friedman, Jack Goodman, Muriel Goodman, Rhoda Goose, Rose Gottlieb, Lillian Ansel Gottlieb, Lillian Harrison, Diane Hirsch, Ethel Hoffer, Elizabeth Hoffman, Albert Horowitz, Sybil Hyman, Charles Israel, Dolores Jane, Baird Campbell Jones, Jordan Capson, Robert Henry Carrots, Alice Kerr, Kiki Kelrick, Harry Kirshheimer, Norman Klein, Martin Königsberg, Daniel Krasno, Yetta Krull, Joseph Kurtzman, Douglas Lamb, Gerald Laxer, Ruth Lebo, Leslie Leventhal, Rose Levin, Thelma Levin, Sarah London, Michael Melvoin, Merle Holly Model, Arthur Nadell, Jack Nagger, Amin Nahal, Raymond Marshall Norton, Irving Ostro, Parviz Pernazar, Annette Polland, Robert Powell, Clem Preston, Bertie Fay Raff, Walter Reed Jr., Evelyn Rebb, Susan Richmond, Victoria Robin, Charles Rosen, William Rosenberg, Saul Rutsch, Frida Sandrick, Isaac Silver, Louis Silverstein, Nachma Silverstein, Sheldon Silverstein, Nathan Solomon, Saul Spiegelman, Davine Stein, Sandra Stein, Gerald Steingold, Henriette Stern, Etta Tamkin, Sylvia Taylor, Beltuch, Gordon Waller, Hyman, Michael Wynn, Michael Witzenhausen, Edith Wixon, Lillian Worst. I would like to add to this list all of those who have died in the battle for the Ukraine. We include the list of the Russian soldiers who died. We include the memories of the Ukrainians who are going to be slaughtered and fleeing for their lives. We pray for all those who are the victims of senseless violence. And we pray that the day will come soon when we can look back on our lives and say, we left this world a better place than when we found it. Yitkadal, Yitkadash, Merabah, Bialmad, Divah, Pirute, Biamlich Malchute, V'chayechon of Yomechon, V'chaye Dechol Beit Yisrael, Ba'agalav Izman Kariv, Yehi Shmei Rabba Mubarak, Li'olam Li'omei Amaya, Yitbarach, Yishtabach, Yitbar, Yitromah, Yitnaseh, Yitadar, Yitaleh, Yitalal, Shmei Krishna, Play Kol Bir Chata Shirata, Chata V'nechemah, Miran Bi'almavi Romen, Yehi Shlomo Rabba Shemaya, V'chayim, Aleinu V'al Yisrael, Amen.
Amen.
Shalom Bimromav, Yaseh Shalom.
Shalom. Israel.
Amen.
Amen.
May God, who makes peace in the high places, make peace in our hearts, make peace in our homes, make peace in the household of Israel. bring the hope of peace to all of humankind. A meaningful peace, a real peace, a just peace. Protect the people of the Ukraine. Protect all of us. Amen.
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 Thank you, Rabbi.
Shabbat shalom.
Thank you.
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
Let's hope for the best.
Everyone.
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom. Shabbat shalom, everybody.
Shabbat shalom.
With love.
Shabbat, 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 Shalom. Hi, Steve.
Hi, Effie.
How you doing?
We're good.
Good. What does it say?
Oh, it's the Museum of the Southern Jewish Experience in New Orleans.
Okay, I'm gonna get off so Hannah can get off.
All right.
All right. Talk to you later. Bye.
Sounds good. Bye.